Hello and welcome back to my small channel on Norse mythology, the Viking Age and Germanic culture and languages. This is Irina, I'm a historian and history teacher. If you like what I produce, please consider liking and subscribing. You can also find me on Facebook and TikTok. Well, since I've been dealing with a pretty horrible pain for the past week due to an infection at my wisdom tooth, I thought about dental health in the Viking Age. Because I think that we have several preconceptions regarding modern people versus pre-modern people, in the sense that we tend to believe that people in the past had much healthier teeth than we do nowadays, and I have investigated a little bit the topic, and what I found might be of interest. So if you're interested in finding out more about whether Vikings had healthy teeth or not, please follow this video to the end. I will also be talking a little bit about cosmetic dentistry, because they tended to, or some of them tended to file their teeth, and we don't really know why. So that's also pretty fascinating. So let's see what it is about.
So as far as we can tell, many Vikings did suffer from tooth problems. More than 1/4 of the population had holes in their teeth. Finds of crania shows that most Vikings had several teeth missing at death. In a number of cases, only a couple of teeth were left by the time death occurred. We have an interesting study of paleoodontology published by Sven Richter and S. Eliasson in 2008, Dental Health in Viking Age, Iceland. The researchers radiographed and photographed teeth and jaws from the Skeljastaðir farm located near the volcano Hekla in the southern part of Iceland. 51 skulls were available for research. There were 1,001 teeth present in the 51 available skeletons. Significantly more tooth wear in the age group 36 years and older was confirmed. The highest rate of tooth wear was found in the first molars and the lowest in the third molars. So we do have a severe problem of tooth wear. This can be explained by the consumption of acidic drinks and food, in addition to coarse diet. So the main cause of this wear was most likely a rough diet, consisting of dried meat and fish, for example. We also have ground grain, but that was of lesser importance. However, you need to take into account that when you have that much unprocessed food, you should expect all kinds of impurities alongside problems of mastication. A mixture of acidic whey and water, which was a daily thirst quencher in Iceland until the mid-20th century, also contributed to this problem. In addition, traditional Icelandic food was preserved in acidic whey, and sometimes it still is. Teeth were covered with calculus, was also a finding of the researchers. Scurvy was also a common disease. If you look at some sagas, you are also going to find people described with blood at the corners of their mouth. This could be due to bleeding gums. Also, a prevalence of tori, these are bony protuberances, was found to be much higher than in our modern population. The researchers dealing with Iceland also found that periodontal disease was a thing, one criteria being the loss of alveolar bone, which was rated. They also found root abscesses common in the first molars, which are also the teeth with the highest rate of dental wear. I assume this would have also been quite painful. The prevalence of caries, so tooth decay, on the other hand, was much lower than in the southern part of the continent at the time, where, let's say, there was more access to sugar through vegetable and fruits. The steep rise in prevalence of decay, tooth decay in Western countries around the year 1000 is due to the access to sugarcane. A change in diet after the middle 19th century probably correlated with the introduction of more refined sugars and flours, is making tooth decay a common disease throughout Europe and actually all over the world. On the other hand, this is not to say tooth decay caries were completely absent from the Viking Age. We have another study, a more recent one, made in Kopparsvik on the island of Gotland in Sweden. This time we have 18 individuals and a total of 370 teeth, which were examined using a strong light source and dental probe. Carious lesions were found in a large number of the individuals, 14 out of 18. However, the percentage of teeth affected by caries was about 12, corresponding with well-studied skull materials from the same period. The tooth most commonly affected by caries was the mandibular first molar. The tooth most commonly missing ante mortem was also the mandibular molar. And the tooth most commonly missing post-mortem was the mandibular incisor. You did have access to sugars in Scandinavia as well. Think of honey, think of berries, and the present findings indicate that caries were not an unknown condition in individuals living around 1,000 years ago. On the other hand, caries is not believed to be the main reason for tooth loss. We have attrition, we have periodontitis, and trauma regarded as the main causes. Many Vikings used picks to clean the gaps between the teeth. I guess they could also have used some toothbrushes, but archaeologically that's not attested. They might have used some kind of twigs or similar tools working as a brush. However, even if they did that, that would not have saved them from gum disease. According to archaeological evidence, it's likely most Vikings lost around 10% at least of their teeth throughout their lifetime. And if you had a tooth infection, and I think that's something which we should consider for all peoples of the Middle Ages and before, that would have been quite dangerous because solutions such as water with salt and mint are very limited, and if you leave an infection untreated, that will spread to the other teeth, and if you're very unfortunate, will also spread to other organs and even cause blood poisoning. However, if you had a tooth infection so far, you know that the pain is absolutely unbearable, so they would have probably pulled out the teeth, which is very sad to think about. That was really the only solution to have at your disposition, so as to eliminate the trouble. All right, let's talk a little bit now about tooth filing in the Viking Age. Something rather odd, but actually not that odd if we think about other cultures throughout the world, pre-Columbian cultures, for example, which had something similar in terms of decoration of teeth. So first of all, we do have a natural mechanism called abfraction that can create these grooves, these notches in teeth near the gum line. But if you look carefully to these ones, at the way they are shaped, that kind of looks artificial. So I think they were made on purpose with some kind of decorative intent, although I don't think that we can rule out the possibility that this was also tooth wear caused by some other activity using some kind of instrument or tool. These marks, if you look at them, they are kind of shallow, which might have caused some temporary sensitivity, but long-term problems are not to be expected from such grooves. The other thing we can see here is the fact that some teeth have been flattened on their edges. So a loss of a couple of millimeters of tooth structures from the top teeth. This looks like standard wear as a result of teeth grinding. Some cases are severe, and it can cause problems, but maybe not that serious. The bone looks kind of healthy, and it is not enough wear for the nerve to be exposed, which can happen in cases more severe than this. This happens slowly over time at any rate. All right, so regarding the filing thing, as of 2014, archaeologists had catalogued about 130 Viking Age males with similar dental modifications, so these grooves. The first major study of the phenomenon was made by Caroline Archini in 2005. They come almost entirely from the Baltic island of Gotland and also Öland, to be added here. So southern, central Sweden, we also have some cases. We also have some, I guess, 2 skeletons from Denmark, and one was also found in a mass grave of 40 individuals executed in England, in Dorset, presumably a captured Viking crew. Now, compared to the thousands of Viking Age graves that had been excavated, that's a pretty small number. However, it is sufficient to suggest that something was going on here. It was important to at least one subgroup of people, perhaps over a short period of time, maybe a couple of generations. The burials are dated to the 9th century, up to the year 1000. And we might think that they have been made by a trained specialist, these notches. It would have probably not been an easy experience to file teeth like this, because with a modern steel file, as far as I've read, it might take at least 20 minutes to make a single notch like this in tooth enamel, which is actually strong enough to survive centuries. So with Viking Age tools and, living people, it might have taken a lot longer. I don't know how painful it might have been, but they seem to be quite superficial, so maybe not that painful. This suggests that they were typically made by someone who knew what they were doing and had a sense of when to stop. All in all, it was a fair share of work requiring patience and a degree of expertise, at least. And presumably the patient held this for an important body modification, a modification that would have separated them from other groups. We can also assume that these teeth would have also been colored, so like mixing color with some fat and wax before putting it on the teeth, maybe fat and charcoal to get a black line, presumably used as a technique to frighten the enemies. That would not have been beyond the realm of imagination. On the other hand, I imagine that the individual would have needed to smile pretty broadly for the notching to be apparent, at least to viewers standing close by. Harold Bluetooth might also have had something like that, or perhaps his nickname is just derived from a bad tooth. So these horizontal lines, at least to my mind, seem to be intentional modifications. They seem prominent on museum pieces today. They were pretty rare, however, during the time when they were made. And they would have only occasionally been visible even to people who knew what to look for. So I don't really know how efficient they would have been as a strategy to scare off enemies. We don't really know why people did it or who did it. It seemed to be a small, let's say, subculture of men who were engaged in Viking activity around the year 1000. There are other problems here as well. For example, that the stature of these men corresponds to the general population, including people who are either short or tall. It also doesn't seem to be something exclusive for rulers or leaders, or a mark of status, or a mark given to slaves. The phenomenon has been observed among any men under the age of 20. In other words, there is very little to suggest that it was a rite of passage as well. Scanning electron microscopy of some of these also show that they had eaten after the filing had been done, and there are also some with calculus in the filed groove indicated that the filed furrows were produced before death, or well before death. So you can think of the possible reason why this happened, either with intention or without intention. However, it is an interesting phenomenon, and I really hope to have more studies to confirm or to infirm what we already know. So what we can conclude here, apart from this small aspect of decorating teeth, Viking teeth were not as healthy as we expect them to be, despite, let's say, the more healthy diet they had in comparison to the modern man. The main problem with Viking teeth, and of course we can extend this to other populations as well, was the fact that the teeth were worn down a lot from chewing poorly processed foods.
So thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing and supporting my educational efforts. And you can also check out my TikTok page. Thank you very much for supporting me, and wish you all the best. Till next time.